I'm Joe Grizzly, bitch.
What up, me militia? I'm Mean Joe Grizzly. And when I'm not trying to protect my family from a grotesque man beast while also trying to protect them from myself, I'm at the Grizzly Cave, watching movies, reading comics, listening to metal, and of course, crushing beers. And this is episode 100. 100 episodes, guys. I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would reach 100 episodes of Grizzly Grade Reviews. And although this isn't what I want it to be, I want it to be more. I am forever in y'all's debt for making this happen for me. Thank you all so much. For those of you that are watching for the first time, if you like this video, like it. If you like it enough, please subscribe and hit the little bell notification so you never miss an episode. Also, please follow me on all social media platforms so that you can get channel updates, movie news, and all sorts of badassery. Now, before we kick off episode 100, I just want to say that if you live in America, you know that there was a TikTok ban. It lasted like 14 hours. It's back. We don't know if it's going to stay gone or whatnot, but I'm not really here to talk to you about TikTok. I'm here to talk to you about the company ByteDance's other program, CapCut. CapCut is a program that I use to edit all my videos. So the format of this video is going to be a little bit different because I'm having to use an entirely different program. And yeah, I didn't want TikTok to get banned, and I have my own reasons on why I didn't want it to get banned, but I was really upset when CapCut got banned because I lost hours of videos that I was editing for you guys, and now I can't get to them. So this review was supposed to come out on Monday, but now it's coming out today because I pretty much had to re-record all of this all over again. So things seem a little different and not like they used to be. That's why, because this program's a lot like CapCut, but it doesn't have near the features that CapCut has. Now that disclaimer's over with, let's kick 2025 off with a bang. Did the Wolfman live up to its expectations? Does Lee Winnell continue to go undefeated? Let's find out. This is Grizzly Grade Reviews. When a man and his family return to his isolated childhood home in the wilderness of Oregon, they find themselves under attack by a grotesque man beast, and from the beast within. I was beyond excited for this film. I am a big fan of Lee Winnell. I think that the guy just doesn't miss, and he has progressively gotten better as a writer, and he really jumped in with both feet when he started directing, and I don't think that he's made anything bad yet. He is the co-creator, writer, and star of Saw. He has written Saw, Saw 2, Saw 3, Insidious, Insidious 2, and Insidious 3, Dead Silence. He's also directed Insidious 3. He directed the original feature Upgrade, and then he did the Invisible Man remake. I think the guy is a modern master of horror. And in my opinion, I think he might be the real reason why James Wan is so successful. I think that those two pairing up is like a match made in horror heaven, and I think that he may be all of the talent between the two of them. I could be just shooting off at the mouth or whatever, but I really do feel like he is the reason why James Wan has become a household name. So when he was released as the writer and director of the Wolfman remake, I was beyond excited. But then it got delayed till January, and then I began to worry. And Blumhouse, with all their ever-growing wisdom, decided that they were going to put out a costume at Universal Horror Nights featuring what this new Wolfman looks like. And it looks like absolute dog shit. So everyone was pissed, everyone was worried, and I was kind of in that boat because I didn't think it looked good either. So that kind of tempered my expectations even more. So with both of those things happening, I tempered my expectations, but I was still hopeful that this movie was going to be decent and not just another January Blumhouse blunder. So after seeing it, I can say I'm pretty disappointed, but I didn't hate it. So let's get into the positives. So starting out with the positives, this movie is very well directed, and it's kind of thing that you've kind of expected from Lee Winnell at this point. He just knows his way around a camera, so going into not only how immaculate the cinematography looks, it's the shots that he gets that are just incredible. There's a couple of drone shots, and there's a couple of moments where the camera will pan around the room and around the actors in the middle of the room, and it just looks incredible. One thing in particular is there is this really unique thing he did, as you can see the world through the Wolfman's perspective. So I'm going to call it wolf vision. So you kind of see what they see. So he'll have that effect going on, and then he'll have the camera panning around at different angles, and it just looks incredible. And I felt like it was a pretty cool idea that we haven't really seen before. Most of the time we've seen something from the perspective of the werewolf. It's been something like an infrared looking screen, or just a regular like camera on a dolly going panning around on the ground. It doesn't really do that in this. It's more of a third person view, but you get to see the perspective of the Wolfman and how different the world looks. And I thought that was pretty cool. Pairing with that beautiful camera work and the shots, the views in this movie are just absolutely gorgeous. The setting of this movie is in Oregon, but I believe that it's in New Zealand, but I'm not very sure. But all I know is that it is absolutely gorgeous and breathtaking with some of the scenery in this movie. And the way that the movie's shot, it just makes it look even better. The sound design in this movie is pretty damn good. There is a scene in particular, and this isn't a spoiler because I'm going to avoid spoilers, where you are hearing how the Wolfman hears with his heightened senses. And everything is increased to like 100. So he hears something upstairs in this house. As you know, in the movie, they're in this isolated house trying to hide from the Wolfman. And they hear this noise that sounds like something is just destroying the roof of the house, walking on it. And the dad character, who is changing into a Wolfman himself, is going upstairs and trying to find this sound, and it keeps getting louder, and it gets more erratic with its movements and stuff. And when they finally reveal what it is, that was kind of shocking, honestly. But it was really cool how they did that, and I wish I could go into more detail, but let's just say the sound design is pretty damn good in this movie. And pairing the good directing and the cinematography with the sound design, it gives us a really good atmosphere. You're in this wilderness setting that's very, very isolated, that has like this farmhouse with a greenhouse and a barn. It's kind of like a prepper's dream, honestly. And it's just really eerie at night how you have this darkness that's enveloped everything, and yet there's enough moonlight to light the field and light the path and stuff like that. And I just felt like that was really cool, like building that atmosphere that kind of didn't really pay homage to the old Universal Wolfman, because there wasn't like the fog and mist that drifted into the area, but it was still pretty creepy nevertheless. I can see there being, like, if I was in that setting, I could see that setting being unsettling if I have some kind of a monster that's after me. I think Christopher Abbott's pretty good in this, and I think that the actress that plays his daughter, Matilda Firth, I thought that she was good too, and I really bought into their father-daughter dynamic, and really felt like that relationship was very heartfelt and realistic and organic. I don't really know Matilda Firth from anything right off the top of my head, but I do know that Christopher Abbott from one movie, and that was Possessor, and that was the one that was made by David Cronenberg's son. Pretty interesting flick if you want to check that one out. He was good in that one as well. But I feel like that both of them have really good on-screen chemistry, and that you really do think that this is a father and a daughter that have a very close relationship. I feel like Christopher Abbott did a good job when he had to do some nonverbal acting when he was going through the Wolfman transformation. I felt like that you really seen the pain in his eyes and his expressions and his mannerisms, and that you seen the rage that was building up inside of him too, as well as the Wolfman's sickness is taking him over. Moving on to the Wolfman design itself, and after seeing what they debuted at Universal Horror Nights and how horrible that looked, it just looked like a Walmart Halloween costume. I can say that the final product is nothing like that. And anyone who says it is, they're just being ridiculous. I actually like the final design that we got for the Wolfman. I feel like it was pretty unique, and I felt like that it was a very unsettling design, especially when it's draped in darkness coming out of the woods and out of the tall grass at night. I thought it was pretty damn good. And you have this Wolfman versus werewolf controversy that has all of a sudden popped up, where people were expecting this supernaturally based Wolfman, and me personally, I knew it wasn't going to be supernaturally based. I knew that it was going to be something wildly different, just like with Lee Winnell's Invisible Man take. I knew that they weren't going to use some magic formula to make this guy become the Invisible Man. So I was expecting something completely different when he was going to adapt the Wolfman. And I, for one, I liked what he did with it. I liked the idea of the Wolfman persona being as a result of some kind of disease, some wilderness disease, kind of like a crazy version of rabies that is so like radical that it actually changes your appearance and how your mind works and how you just transform into a beast. I thought that was pretty cool. I know a lot of people didn't like that, but also I want to point out that this is a Wolfman movie, not a werewolf movie. And a lot of people don't know that there's kind of a difference between a Wolfman and a werewolf. And if I can break it down as easy as I possibly can, you have a werewolf, which in appearance wise looks kind of like, most of the time looks kind of like a wolf that stood up on its hind legs and grew human hands and is like this big giant hulking monster. He's just 8 foot tall or more and just this big intimidating force. Or they look more like a traditional wolf but just absolutely humongous. And then you have a Wolfman, and when I think of a Wolfman, the first thing that pops in my head is Lon Chaney Jr. So a man with the features of a wolf. So if I had to simplify it even more, a Wolfman is more man-like and a werewolf is more wolf-like, if that makes any sense. So with them calling this the Wolfman, they gave us what they said they were going to give us. They gave us a Wolfman. So I'm not really understanding the big uproar over that. Is it still in the werewolf genre? Absolutely. But there is a difference. And us horror nerds, some of us kind of go down rabbit holes with stuff like this, and we know the difference. And some of us don't give a shit. I'm one of those people that I like researching stuff like that, which is one of the reasons why I have the monster manual that I bring to y'all as much as I possibly can. I said before that I like this being a sickness and not like a supernaturally based werewolf. So when you bring it in concept that way, you can bring in different subgenres of horror to work with. And one of the things that they 100% brought in was body horror. And I thought they were very successful in incorporating body horror into this werewolf movie. But did they use a bunch of shitty CGI to show us this body horror? Actually, no. They actually bring us a lot of practical effects. And I think the practical effects are outstanding. I think they're really, really good. From the way that his teeth fall out to the claws he grows, to his body contorting and cracking and twisting into whatever this final form is going to be. I thought they did a pretty damn good job of doing that. And again, it's practical. None of that CGI bullshit when it comes to stuff like this. And I respected the fact that they did that. Now moving on to the negatives, one of the biggest things that was kind of a surprise to me is Julia Garner is not good in this. In fact, other than the moments where she is like expressing terror and she's like about to like completely be lost in despair because of the situation she's in, she does a really good job with that. Like you could tell that she's so damn scared that she's just petrified. other than that, she's like a fucking robot. It's like no emotion whatsoever. And almost to the point that it was like she was phoning it in. Like, I'll do this damn Wolfman movie because whatever. She gave a very Rooney Mara performance, like how Rooney Mara is known for just being this douchebag that she just phoned it in the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, making that movie even worse because she couldn't lend her alleged acting talents to it because she just did it for a paycheck and clout. Yeah, it kind of feels like Julia Garner was kind of doing the same thing here for most of this movie. And honestly, it might not be her fault because when they casted her, I felt like that was one of the biggest miscasts ever because they casted her as the wife. And I know Julia Garner's in her 30s, and I know that we're supposed to, you want to treat them like they're their age and give them respect as a woman, but I don't buy into, like, for 1 second that she is this man's wife. She looks way, way too young to be this man's wife. She looks more like his older daughter. And it's really off-putting throughout the whole movie because you never once think that they're husband and wife. Because not only is their on-screen chemistry just not there, but it's also, it just visually doesn't look like they could be husband and wife. It looks like middle-aged man or close to middle-aged man having an affair with a young college student. That's what it feels like when she was casted in this role and seeing it on screen. It doesn't look right. She looks closer in age to Matilda Firth's character than she does closer in age to Christopher Abbott's character. And probably the biggest problem that this movie has is, crazy enough, the writing. It has this very slow build, like most of Leigh Whannell's movies have, where you're slowly building to this climax that ultimately, in all of his movies, have had this really big payoff, and most of the time this big emotional payoff. And it keeps building and building, and when the climax finally happens, it didn't have that punch to it. It didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like that payoff was worth all this build up. And I felt like that the premise and the message of this film, which is be better than your parents, like give your children a better life and a better environment to grow up in than what your parents gave you, and don't recommit the sins of the father. That message was good, but at a certain point it became super repetitive, and he just beats you over the head with it over and over again. And that's very out of character for Leigh Whannell. He doesn't assume that his audience has to have their hand held all the way through a movie, but he continuously beats you over the head with the message. And with him focusing on that message, he kind of leaves character development behind, which is also something that's very out of character for him in his writing and his directing. You get the first 10 minutes where you get to see a very brief glimpse into the childhood of Christopher Abbott's character, and then it kind of jumps into him being a father, and you get about a 5 to maybe 10 minute area where you get the dynamic between him and his daughter and the dynamic between him and Julia Garner. It's not enough. And honestly, the movie jumps into the horror very quickly. I'd say about 20 minutes in, bam, the events of the trailers that you see happens. And I like that. I like the fact that we got down to business, but we needed a little bit more development on these characters, and they didn't have to give it all at once at the beginning. But when they get to the point of the movie and the meat of the movie where they are trapped in this house and trying to keep the Wolfman out, there was so much opportunity there to develop these characters and let us give them a little bit more personality, and he just didn't do it. He focused more on Christopher Abbott's character transforming into this beast instead of like making us emotionally attached to these characters and having that big emotional punch at the end. And not to say that I didn't want to see us be there for this transformation this whole time, because most werewolf movies are all about that transformation scene, and if you don't nail the transformation scene, the movie kind of falls flat. This movie took it from a different approach and was like, okay, we're going to show him progressively turning into this monster throughout this movie, but there is a lot of nothing that goes on in between that. Sure, there's moments of terror, and there's moments where the Wolfman outside the house is trying to get in and attacking and stuff, but it's few and far between. And I feel like that's where this movie really is really hurt at. It's a nothing happens through most of the movie until the end kind of deal. And it isn't. And I know that's really hard to understand because stuff does happen. But I guess what I'm trying to say is not enough happens, because I just wanted more from it. And for some reason, Lee Winnell couldn't deliver that. So overall, this movie was a big disappointment, but I don't think this movie is a bad movie. It's weird because a lot of other creators talk about this too, but werewolf movies are not like as good as vampire movies. Like we can name countless good vampire movies, but we can only name like a handful of good werewolf movies. And I don't know why werewolves are so hard for Hollywood to adapt past those classics. And it's almost like the subgenre of werewolves has a curse, just like the werewolf curse itself, as corny as that sounds, but it almost seems like a real thing. If Lee Winnell couldn't give us a great werewolf movie, then I feel like the subgenre is cursed. Because Lee Winnell, despite this movie, even though this movie is still well directed, it's the writing and certain things that's wrong with it, it's still well directed. And despite that, Lee Winnell is a great director, and he's going to bounce back from this. I don't think that this is as big as a black eye as people are making it out to be. I still think this movie is solid. It's just not as good as what we were expecting from him. Just maybe werewolf movies are, like I said, cursed. So I wanted more, but I still thought that it was decent. So with all that being said, Wolfman gets a 3.5 out of 5. Go see it and tell me what you think about it. I, for one, didn't think it was that bad, but it wasn't what I wanted it to be. So I did ultimately walk away disappointed. So let me know down in the comments what you think. Well, that does it for episode 100. 100 episodes, guys. I'm going to say it again. I had no idea I would ever make 100 episodes of Grizzly Grave Reviews. And if you want to listen to my past episodes, head over to Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts, because the majority of those episodes are audio only. I only have a few of the audio onlys up here, and I have a playlist that I'll tag in the description below. So it's one of those things that I started out doing this as a hobby, and it's still a hobby. I'm not making money off of this. I just enjoy talking to people about stuff that I like. And it's just incredible that I've made it to 100 episodes. Just never thought that I would ever get to that point in this. And it's a milestone that I am proud of. And hopefully one day this is going to take off. And if it does take off, it's going to be because of y'all. Because of y'all's support and y'all watching and listening to me over these last 4 to 5 years. So for that, I really thank y'all, and I appreciate every single one of y'all. But for those that are watching this for the first time, like I said before, if you like this video, like it. If you like it enough, please subscribe and hit the bell button so you never miss an episode. And if you don't mind, follow me on all social media platforms so you'll get channel updates, movie news, and all forms of badassery. Next, we're going to probably do a review on Companion. That's the newest movie from the creators of Barbarian. So I'm excited about that, but since the Wolfman kind of disappointed me, I'm kind of going to temper my expectations a little bit. So nevertheless, I'm still excited to see it because I absolutely love Barbarian. So I'm kind of anxious to see what they're going to do with this one. Please bear with me as the new format and the way things visually look is a lot different. So it's not going to be exactly what it used to be. This might be a permanent change if they don't like reissue CapCut. Hopefully they do, because man, I got so many hours of content on there that I was going to be bringing y'all, because for those of you that do this as well, you understand how much work goes into video editing and recording and stuff like that. It's a lot of work, and I don't have a lot of time. So I use a lot of my free time to do this. And I'm not here to say woe is me, but it really does suck when you have all this hard work and just one fell swoop completely out of control, it's just taken away from you. And it really sucks. So hopefully CapCut comes back just like TikTok did. So let's hope all that gets worked out, and stay tuned for that review on Companion. And remember, I'm Joe Grizzly, bitch.